And I'm not dating anybody. I'm not married. I don't think I'll ever be married but once. I think Carl Dean's waiting for me on the other side. I've had a few little health issues, and we're taking good care of them. I just kind of got wore down and wore out.
Dolly Parton, the timeless queen of country music, known for her radiant smile and countless legendary hits. But the loss of her husband, Carl Dean, left her devastated. Soon, rumors began to spread. Some said she was dating a younger man. Others claimed she had already found new love just months after Carl's funeral. Many people criticized her and said she was forgetting her husband too quickly. Now, after a long disappearance, Dolly finally returns, breaking her silence with a powerful statement about her love for her husband and opening up about the emotional journey of healing. Dolly Parton was born on January 19, 1946, in Tennessee, United States. Over the course of more than 6 decades, she has become one of the most iconic figures in country music. Her career spans countless albums and unforgettable songs, including Jolene in 1973, I Will Always Love You in 1974, and 9 to 5 in 1980. But her influence goes far beyond music. She is also an actress, a businesswoman, and a philanthropist. In 1986, she opened the Dollywood theme park in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, nearly a decade later. In 1995, she launched the Imagination Library, a program that has delivered millions of free books to children around the world. Yet behind this global superstar stands a man the public almost never sees. Carl Dean, Dolly Parton's husband, was born in 1942. Unlike his wife, he has never been part of the entertainment world. He built his career working in the asphalt and concrete business in Nashville. While Dolly's life unfolded under bright lights and constant attention, Carl chose something entirely different. He avoided the spotlight, stayed away from red carpet events, and never joined her on television appearances. He chose privacy, routine, and a quiet life. Their story began in 1964, at a moment when everything in Dolly's life was just beginning. She was 18 years old and had just arrived in Nashville to chase her dreams. The two met at a small laundromat called the Wishy Washy. Carl happened to drive by, stopped to talk, and in that brief encounter, he made a bold statement. He said he knew he was going to marry her the moment he saw her. Dolly would later remember that day clearly, not just because of what he said, but because she was still adjusting to a brand new life far from home. They started dating soon after, keeping things simple and private from the very beginning. On May 30th, 1966, they were married in Ringgold, Georgia. The ceremony was small and quiet. Only Dolly's mother and a few close relatives were there. No press, no spectacle, just a quiet promise that would last for decades. For nearly 60 years of marriage, Carl Dean has remained almost entirely out of public view. He never became part of Dolly's professional world. He did not attend award shows or stand beside her at major performances. Instead, he focused on his business and his home life. Dolly has even said that her husband has only seen her perform live a handful of times in his entire life. Carl chose to stay behind the scenes. He never chased attention, and he never wanted fame. By stepping away from the spotlight, he allowed Dolly to fully devote herself to her career without distraction. Time and again, she has said that his steady presence gave her confidence in every major decision she made. In interviews, she often refers to him as the love of her life. What makes their relationship stand out is not what the public sees, but what it does not. Their marriage was never built on appearances or media attention. It was built on trust and respect. Carl was never threatened by Dolly's fame, and he never tried to control her work. Instead, he supported her quietly from the background. In fact, His influence can be heard in her music. One of her most famous songs, Jolene, was inspired by a real-life moment involving a bank employee who showed interest in Carl. Dolly took that situation and turned it into a song that would resonate across the world. Proving just how deeply her personal life shaped her art, Carl also shaped the way Dolly sees the world. He lives simply, with little interest in fame or wealth. His focus has always been on stability, family, and honest work. That grounded perspective helped Dolly maintain balance between a demanding career and a personal life that remained intact. Even after decades together, their life has stayed remarkably ordinary. In interviews, Dolly has shared that they enjoy simple things. They take drives together, have dinner at home, or sit and watch television. They never needed luxury or grand gestures. What they built was something quieter, but far more enduring. And that is why, whenever people talk about Dolly Parton, they often end up talking about Carl Dean too. On March 3rd, 2025, a quiet but devastating moment reshaped Dolly Parton's life forever. Her husband, Carl Dean, passed away at their home in Nashville at the age of 82. The family later confirmed the news, but Dolly chose not to reveal much about his final days. Staying true to the private life they had protected for decades, even as details slowly emerged that Carl had been battling illness for quite some time. She never allowed his condition to become a public story, choosing instead to carry that burden in silence. For Dolly, this was far more than the loss of a loved one. It was the loss of the man who had stood beside her through nearly her entire adult life. Since their marriage in 1966, they had shared over 58 years together, building a life that remained steady even as her fame reached global heights. When Carl passed away, she did not just lose a husband. She lost the one presence that had always been constant in her world. The emotional impact was immediate and profound. And in the months that followed, it became increasingly visible. When Dolly returned to public view in March 2026, she described herself in simple but powerful terms, saying she felt worn down and worn out. The words were brief, yet they revealed a deeper truth, that this was not a passing wave of grief, but a prolonged exhaustion that had worn on both her spirit and her body over time. As the emotional weight settled in, her physical health began to decline as well. During the latter half of 2025, Dolly was forced to step back from several major commitments, including the highly anticipated Dolly Live in Las Vegas residency at Caesars Palace, which had originally been planned for late 2025 but was postponed to 2026. The decision to delay such a major project made it clear that this was not simply fatigue, but a moment when her body could no longer sustain the pace she had maintained for so many years. Further details about her condition began to surface, revealing that she had been dealing with kidney stones, a condition that led to infection and required medical treatment. There were reports that she underwent procedures and had to limit her movement in order to recover, a process that can be especially demanding for someone approaching the age of 80, where healing is slower and requires careful attention. This decline was reflected in her absence from public life. Toward the end of 2025, Dolly missed several important events tied to Dollywood and other public appearances, with media noting that she had repeatedly chosen to stay home and focus on recovery. For someone known for her relentless energy and constant presence, this pattern of absence became a clear signal that something was seriously wrong, prompting growing concern among fans. That concern deepened when her own family spoke publicly. Her sister, Frida Parton, asked fans to pray for Dolly during this difficult period, a message that carried weight and urgency, signaling that the situation was not merely speculation, but a reality witnessed by those closest to her. In response, fans around the world sent messages of support and encouragement, closely following every update as they hoped for signs of recovery. What stands out most in this period is the way Dolly chose to speak about her pain. She did not dwell on it or express it in dramatic terms, but instead acknowledged that she needed time to build myself back up spiritually, emotionally, and physically. A statement that revealed how deeply interconnected her grief and her health had become. The emotional loss weakened her from within, while her physical condition made the process of healing even more difficult, creating a cycle that could not be rushed or ignored after nearly 6 decades of sharing life with one person. The sense of emptiness she faced was profound. In earlier interviews, Dolly had often described Carl as the place she returned to after everything else, the quiet center of her life beyond the stage. Without him, that sense of home could not simply be replaced by work or fame. And the events of 2025 made that reality unmistakably clear. Instead of immersing herself in work to escape the pain, Dolly was forced to step back, to confront the loss, and to begin healing in her own time. What unfolded during this period was not just a personal tragedy, but a full crisis that touched every part of her life. From emotional resilience to physical strength. The loss of her husband on March 3, 2025, the decline in her health in the months that followed, the postponed Las Vegas residency, her absence from public events, the medical treatment for kidney stones and infection, and the voices of her family stepping in to reassure the public all come together to form a clear and powerful picture. Even someone as strong and enduring as Dolly Parton reached a point where she was completely worn down, both inside and out. And from that lowest point, she began the slow and difficult journey of rebuilding herself. After months of silence and recovery, the world finally witnessed a powerful return from Dolly Parton. On March 13, 2026, she made her first public appearance at the opening of Dollywood's 2026 season in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. The event marked more than just the start of a new business season. It became a statement of resilience from the woman who built it all. Standing on stage at 80 years old, Dolly appeared emotional, yet still carried the warmth, humor, and optimism that have always defined her. She addressed concerns about her health directly, reassuring fans with a smile as she said, "I'm not dying, and all is good." She openly acknowledged that the past year had been one of the hardest in her life, shaped by grief over Carl and ongoing health challenges. But she made one thing clear: it didn't slow me down. Her recovery was not just physical. It was deeply personal and complete. Dolly stepped back from touring, allowing herself the time to fully treat her kidney condition and, just as importantly, to heal emotionally. As she explained, she focused on rebuilding herself in every way, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And to prove that she truly had not slowed down, Dolly returned with a wave of ambitious new projects that showed her creative energy was still as strong as ever. One of the most notable is the launch of the Songteller Hotel in downtown Nashville, expected to open in the summer of 2026. The project features 245 rooms, all designed with Dolly's signature style and personality. At its heart is a museum spanning more than 20,000 square feet, dedicated entirely to her life and career, offering visitors an immersive look into the story behind the legend. At the same time, Dolly is bringing her life story to the Broadway stage with a new musical titled Dolly, a true original musical. After a successful world premiere in Nashville in 2025, the production is set to arrive on Broadway in 2026. What makes this project especially personal is that Dolly is not just the subject of the story. She is also the writer behind it, creating the script and composing new songs. Alongside the classic hits that defined her career, her return is more than just good news for fans. It is a powerful reminder of resilience, Dolly Parton has taken one of the most painful periods of her life and turned it into forward momentum. Through these new projects, she delivers a clear message. She has no intention of stepping away. As she has said herself, she will never retire. At 80 years old, Dolly is always busy, constantly creating, writing, thinking, and reflecting as she prepares for whatever comes next. Even after loss, illness, and exhaustion, she continues to move forward, proving that her story is still being written. During her emotional return at Dollywood in March 2026, Dolly Parton did more than update fans on her health and future plans. She also told about her life after the loss of Carl Dean. In response to dating rumors, Dolly gave a clear and unwavering answer. "I'm not dating anybody." But this was not just a way to silence rumors. It offered a rare glimpse into the depth of her love and the space Carl still holds in her heart. Speaking openly about marriage, she shared a belief that felt both simple and profound. "I don't think I'll ever be married, but once." For Dolly, her nearly 60-year marriage was not just one chapter in her life. It was the entire story of her love. She went on to express something even more personal, a quiet but powerful faith that their separation is only temporary. With deep spiritual conviction, Dolly said she believes Carl is waiting for her on the other side. She even added a touch of humor, imagining what would happen if she showed up at heaven's gates with another man. Carl, she joked, would not be pleased. Beneath the light-hearted moment was a truth that felt unmistakably real. In Dolly's world, Carl's place is permanent, untouched, and impossible to replace. Rather than searching for a new relationship, Dolly has chosen a different path. She fills her time with creativity, reflection, and purpose. She writes, she prays, and she continues preparing for new chapters in her career. In many ways, this is how she honors Carl, the man who quietly supported her dreams for decades. Her words and actions reveal something rare, a deep loyalty, a lasting devotion to the one great love of her life. Even after he is gone, it is a kind of love that resonates far beyond fame, touching something universal and human. For millions of fans around the world, this is not just the closing of a love story. It is a reminder that some connections do not end. They endure, beyond time, beyond distance, and even beyond life itself. For Dolly Parton, Carl Dean is not just part of her past. He remains her present, and in many ways, her future as well.